welcome to my new YouTube video. To those who don't know me, I'm Marie, 24 years old, originally from Germany and right now in California as an au pair. I'm talking about my au pair experience and in general how it is to be abroad. We're talking about 5. Today we're talking about 5 things I wish I would have known before becoming an au pair. Every time when someone is asking me how it is to be an au pair and if the experience is the same like I expected before, I'm telling them no, it is not the same like I expected to. Actually, it's totally different and I'm telling you why. The thing is, before you become an au pair, mostly you just have babysit experience. You took care of kids, but just for a couple of hours. For example, I worked at the gym before in the kids area, so I took care of the kids while the parents were exercising. I just did that for a couple of hours 2 or 3 times per week, or I was babysitting in the neighborhood. I went to our neighbors in the evening and took care of their little girl. I made her dinner, brought her to bed, and that's it. Or I took care of my little cousin. But all those experiences are just for like a couple of hour experience. So mostly I haven't taken care of them the whole day. And as an au pair, you live with them together, you see them 24/7 and you're taking care of them the whole day, mostly. And that's a huge difference. Even though you worked at the daycare before or you did something else as your main job, so you took care of kids the whole day, you mostly had a bigger group, you worked at the daycare where they have like an outside area, an inside area, or like thousands of things they could do. You have a lot of equipment if it comes to making crafts or whatever. And all these things are different if you're an au pair because you usually just have like 1, 2, 3 kids that you have taken care of, also in a different age group mostly, and you're stuck at home with the equipment that you have. I don't want to talk it bad because being an au pair is still super fun, it's super cool, but it's different than your experience. So don't expect you to be 24/7 happy, 24/7 full of energy, because that's not the thing. You will be exhausted. Still, it's super fun. Be creative. If you're not that creative, then use Pinterest. Pinterest is a super cool app for that. They show you thousands of ideas. You can bake with them, you can craft with them, you can play something outside with them, you can be creative with them together. Thousands of ideas. Also, I linked down my Pinterest in all of my videos, so you can go on my Pinterest and look for the kiddo list. I think I have 2 lists, one for like recipes, kiddo recipes, where I pinned ideas with healthy recipes that you can bake or cook with them, and I have a list full of ideas with different kind of craft ideas, play ideas, or whatever. Check it out. Another thing where you should look out for is look up exactly where you live. Do it. Of course, you're talking to your host family and you're talking about where you live, where it is, how you come to the city center or wherever you can go, or what kind of public transportation you could use. But we're also talking about different cultures and different experiences. When I was becoming an au pair, my first host family where I went to, their profile showed me they're living in San Francisco or like a suburb of San Francisco. But that could be 10 minutes away from city center, or in my case 40 minutes away from city center. So you should look up how far it is away, talk to your host family which public transportation you could use, or maybe you even have a car. So that didn't happen to me, but sometimes they're telling you, yeah, it's just like 20 minutes away from a city center, but they're talking about like if you're driving with a car, but actually you do not have a car, so you have to use public transportation. And with public transportation it's like 40 minutes or an hour or even more, and sometimes the bus is just like driving every 2 hours, or on the weekends you want to go out, but the last bus or train is coming at 11 p.m. and the next one is coming at 6 a.m. but the club is closing at 1 or 2, so how do you come home? And especially for the German people under us here, I know we're always complaining about the train system in German and public transportation sucks and blah blah blah, but then you haven't experienced the public transportation in the United States. They have trains and yeah, they have buses, but it's not the same like in Germany. And if I'm telling you the last train is coming at 11 p.m, then the last train is coming at 11 p.m, literally. I didn't pay attention to that, but I haven't seen a bus station here close to my house. Maybe down the street there? I don't know. I just want to give you that advice that you should ask more in detail about how public transportation works. How are you allowed to use the car? Some au pairs are not allowed to use the car to drive to the city center because of traffic and parking and that stuff. And if you want to do and experience something here, then you should ask that in advance and not when you're already there at your host family. Another thing I recommend to you is talking to previous au pairs. Mostly the host families have had au pairs before you, and mostly in that case they're gonna offer you to talk to them, but some families do not do that because every au pair makes a different experience, and if you can, you should talk to all of them. Because what if a host family have had a favorite au pair and they're gonna let you talk to her but not to the other ones, and the other au pairs maybe would have told you something that the au pair that you're actually talking to is not telling you. And I'm telling you, you live with that host family together, you want to know everything. Of course, not everybody is perfect. You're not perfect too, I'm not perfect too. But you should know things, and you should know if you're able to deal with it or not. So ask for it. Recommendation number 4. This recommendation includes several topics, but I thought I have to put it all together because it's a really important, maybe the most important topic. Of course, you should video chat with the family, but you should also video chat with your host kids. Even though they're just a baby, even though they're like already teenagers and self-independent, it doesn't matter. Talk to them and see how they are, because that's your actual work. Sure, you also have to live with your host family together, but the kids are your main work. And of course, parents are telling you, those kids are the best, we do not have any problem with them, they're not crazy at all, they're listening very well. Okay. Yeah, but every kid is kind of crazy. Like, I'm crazy too, on a different way. Ask how they behave and where they have maybe like some complications with them. Complications are fine. Like, again, no one is perfect. And they are kids. They're trying you. Maybe they're provoking you, but you also can have a lot of fun with them. So try to get to know them. And I want to specify that topic on education and raising a child, because you should know how they're gonna raise their child, what kind of rules they have, and what kind of consequences they have. And mostly they're gonna ask you how you would raise a kid or how you would react in specific situations. But if they do not do that, then tell them or ask them if you can talk with them about raising a child, because you should be on a kind of same level. And still, the moment will come when you realize that your host parents have a different kind of how they raise their children, then you will have it. But that's fine, because everybody has a different opinion about raising their child, different techniques. You just need to accept it the way they do it. And that's why you should inform yourself before and not wait until you're there and see how it goes then, because that can end up in a complication. And the last tip and advice I want to give you is, if you have the chance or the opportunity to do that, then save money. All the au pairs have different reasons why they want to become an au pair, but mostly it's about traveling. And if you want to travel, especially during COVID and now also after COVID, everything is so expensive. Before I became an au pair, I thought you can buy flight tickets for $100 and fly like half across the country. Maybe there were times where you could do that, but not anymore. Like, I'm living in California, that can be really far away from other states, and that means it can be really expensive to fly somewhere. I'm looking for flights for Nashville right now because I haven't experienced like the countryside or like the southern states of America yet, and my au pair year is ending in a couple of months, so I really need to do that now. And the flights are like $600, like $600. I don't know the prices yet, and actually I don't want to know that anymore. But I was able to fly from Europe to Asia for $600, and now I have to pay that from one state to another state. Oh, Eliza. So probably I'm not going there. Mailbox. Mailbox? The dog will bark pretty soon. I'm just waiting for it. There we go. Anyway, also the states which are like really popular to travel to are obviously super expensive. So if you want to travel to California, I'm lucky that I'm living here, Hawaii, Alaska, New York, then save some money before you become an au pair and use it, because this is the time of your life where you can use it, where you should not pay attention to saving money for your future or whatever, but use this money to go out of your comfort zone, to travel, see the world and experience different cultures, meet new people, or do whatever. I also want to tell you one last thing, because a lot of au pairs are not expecting that, or they're just not thinking about that. But it can happen that you have to go into rematch, and also a nightmare could happen. Luckily to me it didn't happen, but it happened to some friends of mine or to other au pairs. I heard some stories. Unfortunately, being an au pair is not the safest job, so it can happen that the host families are just kicking you out from one second to another. And if you're in the United States and you're with an agency, you should be fine. But still, you do not have any work. They do not have to pay you anymore as soon as they kicked you out. I think as soon as they kicked you out. I don't know, but it can happen that you are not getting paid anymore. You still will have like a roof on top, let it be a hotel, or you will live with your LCC or whatever, but you're not getting any money anymore. And maybe you already did some travel plans and you cannot cancel it because you didn't pay for an insurance or whatever, because most au pairs do not have the money to pay for a travel insurance. They just think, okay, whatever, I'm just going to book that flight in 5 months and everything will work out. But then you go into rematch and then you will be in a totally different state, and maybe you have to use some extra money to fly to the airport where you have been like before to catch your flight, or maybe you have to use some extra money to rebook your flight or to cancel your flight or whatever. Like, always have a little bit of money left, or like I already said, just save some money in advance before you become an au pair. That's it. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe. And I would appreciate it if you would share that video, because we need to grow, because I have interesting stories to tell. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice weekend and see you next week. Bye!